Undoubtedly, probably one of my favorite motors I've ever built, as we built a number of 351 Windsors, stock bottom end, 387 stroker, 408 stroker here on the channel. So it probably shouldn't surprise you that we found a couple more. So just this past week, we went junkyard digging. We found a couple good cores, only paid a couple $100 a piece for them. Yeah, we got them pretty cheap, right? But when we got one of them home, we didn't expect to find that. Only ended up paying about $300 a piece for them. This one came out of a 94 van. The other one was a 96 van. The only way we're gonna find out if that motor's actually salvageable to maybe build a 408 or even a stock bottom end 357 is if we get it into the shop and get it tore down. The nice thing about the U-Pull-It yard that we pulled it from, we have a 30-day warranty. So if there is an issue with this block, I could just take it back and at least get my money back. But let's get the truck fired up and get this engine into the lift and get it off the back of the truck. If you got some old seat belts that you don't have any use for anymore, they make the best engine pullers and toe straps. Man, you ain't breaking these things, bro. I'm telling you that right now. Being it's on a lift, I ain't got no worry about it. It's only about 400 pounds and it holds my car all the time. 500 pounds, whatever. Let's take a peek up in there with that with a flashlight, see what we're looking at. This should be interesting. So obviously that's a throat rod, right? All I care about is, did it break the crank? We noticed it when we were pulling it. Like I said earlier, but hell, worst case scenario, we just take it back, get our money back. But if we could salvage the block, then it was still worth the pull. And let me tell you why. So back several moons ago, when the black car used to be turbocharged and we had a 9.5 deck 351 Windsor in it, we had a stock bottom end 351. And I've showed these pistons multiple times here on the channel, but these are forged Wiseco 30 over pistons for a 351. And you can see these are factory Windsor rods, but they're bent. Not all of them, but 2 or 3 of them are pretty jacked up. You know, too much boost or whatever. You can see that one's just slightly bent a little bit. But on our 357, which is a 30 over 351 build, we made like 720 wheel on our Mustang dyno. Made about 720 horsepower to the wheels, about 900 torque. It was definitely a torque monster. But we evidently put too much boost to it on pump gas E85 and ended up bending a couple rods. And that led us into our 408 build, which you guys have known on the channel with the white car for a number of years, where we made 1,000. These old 351 Windsors are definitely tough as nails. But looking up into the block, all I see is that main cap there looks pretty good. And it looks like the crank isn't broken. So that's definitely really good news. But we won't really know until we actually get it apart. You know, will it run again? You never know. This would definitely be a great candidate for a 357 stock bottom end build. If the block and caps are good, we could do a 408, 393. We can do quite a few things with this. Torque converter was giving us problems at the junkyard, so we figured we'd take the stuff off and get it on the stand at home. Let's get our stand ready, get our bolts ready, get this thing going. Okay, so the only way we're gonna figure out if this 351 Windsor is rebuildable in any form, and if it's ever gonna run again, is if we actually take the oil pan off and check the crankshaft. Because if the main caps are broken, it's pretty much done. So Cousin Paul and I took some of the brackets off, got this motor ready to start taking apart. We're gonna go down to the actual cylinder heads. We're gonna take the cylinder heads off because I wanna check the hone and the bore. If you remember when we built the 387, I had taken apart a 351 that was in really bad condition, but when we got it down to the bare block, it was actually really nice. But the first thing we gotta do is we gotta check to make sure that this rod cap that threw out the side of this oil pan didn't do anything catastrophic to the motor. So we do have a warranty, like I said earlier in the video, and if there's an issue with the block and we find a crack or whatever, it's not really any skin off our back, just the time we had to take it out. So let's get busy and start taking this apart. This is probably one of the worst bolts, and not only the stock ones, but the GT40 ones. The front and rear goes through coolant passages. One of the tricks you could do too with these old blocks is apply a little bit of heat. You go back and forth with it, heat it up. If you're lucky, it'll kick loose, you won't have a problem. Now this doesn't look too bad. This is actually a good sign here. Sometimes you crack these motors open and they're like just full of, I don't know how many we've tore open and they were just completely disgusting. All right, next, I'm not super worried about this stuff getting down in here because it's gonna be cleaned out. But we're gonna pop these little valve covers off and we're gonna take a peek inside. Now again, this is a roller motor 351. They only made them 94 through 97, so like 4 or 5 years. So you're gonna see something similar to what you would see with the Fox body Mustang. See, looks almost identical. All roller rockers. So if you look down in here, this is what keeps all the camshaft. This is like a roller. You could get that and put that on an older 351 Windsor block. That's not really a big deal. You could actually drill the holes for it, but nonetheless, what makes this motor kind of nice is if you got a camshaft and a 302, it fits right in there and not bone at all, and everything's good. Yeah, even better on this side. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Next, we're going to be doing the exhaust manifolds. These are the old cast iron ones. Obviously, they were in a van, so that's where we're at next. Let's get these off, and then we'll get right into the cylinder heads. Okay, so like this being a roller block, it's gonna have the same camshaft as an Explorer 302, like a GT41. It's got the TE truck cam, which is kind of cool. 351 Windsor obviously has a taller deck, 9.5 deck motor versus an 8.2. It does share a lot of the geometry like we had just talked about. But again, we're not worried about a lot of this stuff. All I really care about is the blocks and the caps because I got some ideas for this, especially if it's got a good stock bore. Y'all know what happened last time I said that. So we're just gonna pop these cylinder heads off and check the bore right off the bat. I did want to just take the pan off first last time, but we just started getting busy. It just is what it is. This is what I talk about on the channel all the time, just doing work, one bolt at a time. All right, here we go. Now these cylinder heads are pretty much the same as an E7 TE head that's in the Mustang, but it's got like a 1-bar thing on there. It's almost like a GT41 bar thing, but it's not. It's not to be confused, but let me check this little cylinder out. I'm gonna actually get some brake cleaner and check this. Like usually when you're getting ready to build a block, like 302s, 351s, you can kind of check to see how much like wear is in it or whatever, but these damn 351s, it's like every one of them that's taken apart has been tough as nails. I mean, look at that bore in here. For being old, no lip. Let's see what the other side looks like. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here because we don't know if that block's even worth anything. Now this is what I'm talking about with salvaging parts. This is what we do here on the channel. We've been doing for many years. If these cylinder walls are in good condition and they're not all wore out from wear and tear, and this block isn't cracked, fellas, this thing was thrown to the curb ready to be scrapped, like many other ones that you've seen in the junkyard. You know, with a little bit of time and effort, I mean, it's a couple $100. We'll see. Now we'll get ahead of myself. Like I said, let's get this other one off. Okay, let's take a peek at this one. Now this is the cylinder, I think, that threw the rod. All right, we're gonna move it around, and whichever one doesn't move is the one that's not attached. Go ahead. Yeah, that seems to be number 5. I hate to tell you this, and I know that Dave Dahlk over Dog Racing Engines don't want to hear this. We fit to make another 387. Okay, we're at the point now where we're gonna make a little bit of a mess. We're gonna flip this motor over, take the oil pan off, and see if it's even gonna be worth the shit. Okay, here we go. Now we will know. Moment of truth. Well, one thing we did find out, if this flywheel was missing one of its bolts, almost like whoever was messing with this motor, like I'm pretty sure that would mess the balance up. And if you have an imbalance in your motor, you put windows in them. But one thing I did also want to point out is this is an F4 TE. If you're looking for a roller 351 Windsor block, that's what it's going to be, F4 TE. But here's the moment of truth. Yeah, somebody was definitely in there. They don't come no fell pros. Look at this thing. I mean, it's broke, but it's almost like they didn't torque the rod cap down. Like, this motor's in really good condition outside of the rod cap. Hell, you could reuse this. Look, somebody had been in this motor. I'm gonna get my glasses on and get my light in here, and I'm gonna look for cracks specifically on this area. Oh man, it's got a chunk missing out of the block here. Unfortunately, just too much damage. Number 5 piston took a chunk out of the bottom of the cylinder here, the sleeve. So what's gonna end up having to happen is I'm gonna have to sleeve this block. I was thinking maybe I could do a 387 build. It's pretty much out of the question now. Because when you sleeve the block, you have to bore and hone the block. And I might as well just use the 30 over pistons that I already own. But what we could do is do something really cool. I got some Windsor rods laying around. I got an old set of 30 over 351 Windsor pistons, like from Wiseco, they're forged. And I do have a couple cranks that are polishable. So we could technically save this block, spend a little bit of money on that sleeve. Technically, we need a 30 over motor anyway, so we're gonna have to bore it out when we sleeve it. Not a total loss. I guess I could take it back and get my money back, but considering how hard the 351 Windsors are kind of defined, especially in roller form, I'm just gonna keep it and run it. The oil pan gasket was too new to not know that somebody's probably been in the bottom of this engine. And most likely what had happened is they were changing some bearings or whatnot, and they forgot to actually bolt the rod cap down. So we ended up finding the rod cap on the K-member of the van it was in. And you can see the one doesn't even look like it was sheared at all. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Unfortunately, not all 351 Windsors we have here on our channel have a happy ending, but we're not gonna give up on it. It's not all that much money to do a sleeve on a 351 Windsor. And we have some pretty cool parts that have been waiting in a box for a while to be reused. So it makes this Windsor a perfect candidate to do a 30 over build on. Maybe put it in Cousin Paul's car, his clapped out coupe, or just have a spare motor on the stand. Wouldn't take us a whole lot of money to get it done and bring some more content to the channel. If you guys enjoy this sort of content, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, let me know what you guys think. Check out that join button, become a member of the channel, have exclusive content to the channel. Outside of that, I appreciate all my subs, appreciate all my members. See you soon in the next one. So upon further inspection the next day, they had the rod caps on backwards. A lot of caps have the number right here. You're supposed to match number for number. Probably were changing the rod bearings and had put the caps on backwards. That probably explains why the oil pan had a new gasket on it, and explains why that cap flew off. I don't see any sidewall loading, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need to be fixed. So most likely it will need to be sleeved for sure. It's almost like it's stroker clearanced already.